Hi everyone, and welcome to my first reaction video on this channel, and hopefully the first of many more to come. So today I'm going to be reacting to the YouTube channel Honest. He's going to be reviewing Ariana's worst album in his words. So a little bit about how I feel about the album. He's very clearly talking about Ariana Grande's most recent album, Petal. I, I have to say I agree. Now, I typically like Ariana's albums like a lot. So for me to have, I listened to this album and it just felt very disappointing, a lackluster, like it was missing something. Uh, it just, it wasn't really a good album for me, unfortunately. And I really wanted to like it too. But I think that, I've kind of read a lot of what people were saying online, and I think how I feel is actually very common. I think a lot of people kind of feel how I feel, especially longtime Ariana fans, which I've been an Ariana fan for some years now, and I always like her albums. So for me to not like an album, it's 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 not great because I really wanted to. But let's go ahead and see what he has to say. I typically like his reviews because he's usually no nonsense. He's very blunt, straightforward, which I appreciate. He's very honest, you could say. So let's go ahead and get into it and see what he has to say.
There's a strange experience at the center of Petal, Ariana Grande's eighth album. You listen to one song, then another, and the voice is Ariana. The production has a budget, the harmonies are nice, the emotional atmosphere is carefully lit, and yet from track to track, she can almost sound completely interchangeable. Ariana Grande's eighth studio album, Petal, is fine. Not bad, not offensive, not a total disaster, just fine. And for
Yeah, I agree with that because that's the thing. None of the songs really sounded bad or like inherently bad for some, like I just didn't like them, but I could tell the production was there, the quality was there. There was something about it that I didn't want to listen to it again.
an artist with the vocal chops and pop pedigree of Ariana Grande, fine is almost a bigger insult than bad would have been. Bad albums are at least interesting to talk about. Petal is the sonic equivalent of a beige throw pillow. Nice
Dang.
texture, matches the couch, gone from memory the second you leave the room.
Yikes.
The marketing around Petal promises a moodier, more shadowed Ariana. And to be fair, she does deliver on tone. The production leans into murkier synths and slower tempos, a clear pivot away from the champagne fizz of Positions or the sun-drenched R&B of Sweetener. The problem isn't that she went dark, it's that she went dark in the least surprising way possible for someone with her range. This is not the kind of moody, genre-scrambling risk you'd expect from a singer of her caliber. It's dark pop by the numbers, competent and aggressively safe. A comparison that kept
Mm.
nagging at me the whole way through is that
I will say I did watch her music video for her single. Was it a single? I think it was just a music video, but it was for her song Petal. So it was the name of the album and then also the name of the song. And when I watched the music video, the vibe I was very much getting was this album's going to be dark. Like she was, deleting people, right? And I thought that it was going to be an album that was dark, that was going to kind of, be on the angrier side even, uh, which, after listening to the album, I definitely would agree that she played it safe and that, like I said, it was missing something. Very lackluster.
sonically, Petal sounds like it's trying to tackle dark pop in a way not dissimilar to her noted collaborator, The Weeknd. But it's not as vibrant or as intricate as a Weeknd record. At times, the production and song format feels dated in a millennial pop type of way. At
Mhm.
times, the album leans into that swelling, cinematic, full dark energy, but has little payoff. It often feels dramatic and showy in isolated moments, but ends up strangely colorless. Across
Mhm.
Petal's 13 tracks, the drama never actually builds into anything, it just sort of hovers. Ariana Grande's voice is one of the great pop instruments of her generation, and that's another reason why Petal is such a strange listen. She spends most of the record camped out in her lower register, which is a genuinely cool idea on paper. Lower register Ariana should sound smoky, dangerous, and lived in, Instead, it mostly sounds detached, almost clinical, like she's narrating her own emotions from behind a pane of glass. It's some of the iciest, most guarded singing of her career, and it doesn't feel like an icy delivery that's being performed with intention to enhance the perspective of a song. She starts sounding interchangeable, and that should not be possible for a vocalist this gifted. Ariana has said in interviews that this album was her chance to tap into unfiltered rage, the kind of raw, messy anger she usually keeps under wraps. Respectfully, the album does not back that up. What we get instead is vague,
Yeah.
guarded, workshop sounding lyricism. Lots of gesturing at anger without ever
Yeah, very much like he said, gesturing at anger, not really hitting the target, just kind of beating around the bush the whole time. That's how I felt. It wasn't angry. If that was her goal to be angry, the album was not near angry enough for me.
naming names, or getting into the weeds of what actually hurt. Rage is supposed to be specific. Rage names its targets. Petal mostly just simmers politely. The writing is often vague, full of emotional outlines rather than sharp details. On Petal, she asks, "Tell me who's to blame. Is it the people or myself?" It is a perfectly reasonable question, but it is also broad enough to apply to almost any celebrity crisis, breakup, or group chat disaster. Later, she sings, "I'm not the victim," and describes herself as practically drowning in my blessings. That line is more revealing because it acknowledges the contradiction at the heart of the album. Ariana is angry, but she is also aware of her privilege. She is overwhelmed by fame while benefiting enormously from it. At times, the album feels like emotion about emotion, one layer removed from the thing itself. Freak leans on that shrugging, dismissive energy, more attitude than storytelling. She sings, "I won't give you your fantasy this time. Can you do it now?" "No, I won't do what you say, Freak, anytime. What can you give me now?" The whole song is the lyrical equivalent of a raised eyebrow instead of an actual sentence. Compare this to Thank You Next or Sweetener, two albums where Ariana said the quiet part loud, named exes, owned her contradictions, and let herself be embarrassingly, gloriously honest. Those records had teeth because she was willing to be specific and a little unflattering about herself. But wants credit for vulnerability while keeping its cards face down on the table. It's the difference between someone telling you exactly what happened and someone just sighing dramatically and changing the subject. After the transparency of her career best run, Hedda feels almost shy in comparison, which is a wild thing to say about an album billed as her angriest. A lot of
Mm.
Petal is clearly aimed at the medium issue.
Her angriest. Wow. I did not get that at all. I mean, maybe upset at best, but certainly not her angriest album. Wow. I mean, like he said about Thank You Next, Thank You Next was it was punchy and it was authentic, it was raw, and like you said, she was not afraid to name names, to be specific. And I think that's actually a large part of what made that song so iconic and what made the song such kind of a staple in her career is that she was unapologetically being messy in that song, very messy, and people liked that. I loved the song too. I still love it. So, yeah, definitely didn't get her angriest album from Petal.
Machine, in the exhausting business of being endlessly discussed, dissected, and mythologized. That's a rich vein for her to mine, and you can feel the discontent bubbling under the surface. Unfortunately, the lyricism keeps circling the subject instead of landing on it. We get a lot of mood and not a lot of specificity. A lot of "you don't know me" energy without the follow through of actually telling us who she is instead.
Dang.
It's a shame because the frustration is clearly real. It just never gets sharp enough to leave a mark. And here's the part that hurts the most for a pop record. The melodies are arguably the least memorable of her entire discography. That wouldn't be fatal if the album leaned into cohesion and had the production intricacies to actually back this up. One long mood piece you can sink into, but that's not what happens either. Instead, the record just feels monotonous, same shapes, same cadences, same held back energies song after song, without the payoff of actually feeling unified. It's the worst of both worlds, not catchy enough to hook you, not cohesive enough to hypnotize you. To her credit, the anger on Petal is intentionally quieter than anything she's done before. This isn't Dangerous Woman strutting around in leather. This is something that's been festering under the surface for a while, low and slow instead of loud and theatrical. It's a genuinely interesting choice. It just doesn't translate into memorable songwriting often enough to justify itself. It's not all beige though. Opener Kiss Me deserves real credit. It sets the tone of the record beautifully, all sensual and urgency. And it's one of the few moments where the vagueness actually works in the song's favor, because the ambiguity reads as breathless rather than evasive. The title track pedal is another genuine standout. The one moment where the icy vocals, the quiet rage concept, and the production actually click into place. Warning Signs is a legitimately intriguing little interlude, all hushed tension and unresolved feeling. And lead single Hate That I Made You Love Me is a slow burn, noticeably less eventful than her typical singles, but there's something to its patience. Thematically, it lands in the same neighborhood as Yes and, another song about refusing to explain herself to an audience that demands explanations. Measured against her run of Dangerous Woman, Sweetener, and Thank You Next, Petal simply doesn't compete. Those three albums each had a clear personality, a reason to exist beyond new Ariana Grande album. Dangerous Woman was fierce, Sweetener glowed, Thank You Next bled honesty from every seam. Petal mostly just exists, tasteful and hushed, and a little bit sealed off from the listener. And measured against his closest sibling, Eternal Sunshine, it plays like a totally lesser counterpart, thematically and sonically. Both albums are about processing fame, heartbreak, and the exhausting business of being endlessly watched. But Eternal Sunshine wrapped that discomfort in melodies that stuck around long after the record ended, and it wasn't afraid to let some humor and specificity sneak in around the edges. Petal strips that warmth out and replaces it with atmosphere, which sounds like an upgrade until you realize atmosphere alone can't carry a whole album. Ariana
Dang,
Grande is still
for
Ariana
sure.
Grande at the end of the day, though. Her voice is still one of the best in pop, full stop, and there's real ambition in trying to write from a colder,
Yeah, I mean, Ariana has an amazing voice, and that's the thing. On this album, her voice was spectacular. I mean, he she's an amazing vocalist. She just is, period. And that's why, I mean, like he said, atmosphere is not going to carry a whole album, right? You can sing, she can sing, yes. The vibe was cool. It was vibey, I guess. But just the emotion, it was lackluster. There was no anger behind it, right? Just a lot of beating around the bush, right? Even though the vocals are there, even though the aesthetic is there, where's the anger?
angrier, more guarded headspace. It's the execution that falls short here. An album that talks a big game about rage and honesty, and then spends most of its runtime hedging. Eternal Sunshine felt lived in. Pedal feels like a very well decorated mood board. Pretty to glance at, hard to remember a week later for the music itself, rather than whose album it is or the cultural climate it arrives in. Pedal arrives as the weakest album of Ariana's discography thus far. It's not a bad album, it's just a forgettable one. And for an artist of Ariana Grande's caliber, that might honestly be the harsher review.
Dang. So yeah, I guess that's how he felt about the album. I gotta say I agree with honestly probably everything he said in this video. I had a feeling I would agree just because of the title. I mean, the title was it's pretty rough, but I gotta say I think it's what a lot of longtime Ariana fans are thinking. It certainly was what I was thinking, so I don't disagree with anything he said. In fact, I agree with most of everything he said, if not everything he said. So I mean, I hope, and I heard that she's kind of taking a break from the spotlight and from, I don't know if it's from music, but I think just like social media. I'm not sure. I saw a few headlines about it. She's taking a break from something, so, which I think she needs to, because I know there have been a lot of discussions about her body, and I'm sure that's very stressful to her and for her. And if I was her, I'd be very stressed. So I think it's a good thing that she is taking a step back. um, Ultimately, I do wish the album was better. I wish it was angrier. I wish it was punchier, but I mean, what can you do? So, yeah, those are my thoughts. Leave a comment down below if you guys really loved the album. Let me know what made you guys love it or if you guys agree with me. Yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye, guys.